Nobody at the coffee shop knows who you are. That's, that's the whole point. You sit in the booth in the corner. Every Tuesday. 8:43 in the morning, more or less. Dark coffee, $3.75. A book you've been on page 112 of for 2 weeks. The barista is maybe 23. She has a pencil tucked behind her ear that you have never once seen her use. She knows your name. She thinks you're an accountant who works from home. You said something close to that once. Yeah, something like that. She refills your coffee without asking. You let her. And outside the window, there's a tree-lined street called Linden Avenue. 2 stories, brick, 22 buildings if you count them, 8 blocks if you walk it. Apartments above, storefronts below. A diner, a dry cleaner, a dental office, a hardware store, a pharmacy on the corner. Your phone buzzes. You glance at it once, just once. Then you set it back, face down, between the saucer and the book. Monthly collection closed. $47,400. 22 properties on Linden Avenue. No phone calls. No chasing. No drama. The barista wipes down the counter with one hand. You drink your coffee. You were 28. You worked a salaried job you don't have to think about anymore. You earned $46,000 a year and you saved most of it because there was nothing in your life loud enough to spend on. One Saturday morning, you went to the county records office to settle a parking ticket. You waited in the corridor. There was a bulletin board on the wall. Printed notices, 2 columns. Mostly nothing. One of them was a tax lien on a diner on Linden Avenue. You went home. You did math at your kitchen table for an hour, then for another hour, then for a third hour. And the math kept working. Marie was 56. She'd run the diner with her husband for 19 years. He had died 3 years before. She owned the building. She told you she was 6 weeks behind on her property tax. 6 weeks behind on her supplier. 8 months behind on the maintenance for the upstairs commercial unit, which had been empty for the better part of a decade. She wasn't going to make it to December. You didn't buy the diner. You bought the empty upstairs unit. $43,000. All cash, the savings you had, and a small loan from your sister you don't talk about. You paid the back taxes. The diner stayed Marie's. You stood in the unit afterward. 2 windows. Hardwood. Nothing else. 2 brass keys on a ring. You found a tenant in 11 weeks, a small bookkeeper who needed an office. $800 a month. By the end of the first month, after the loan service and the building insurance and a new pane of glass in the back window, $1,250 cleared. You walked home the long way that night. The streetlights were still the old kind. Sodium orange. There was a building on Linden that was yours now. The 13 people who walked past you did not know that. It took 14 months to find the next one. A 2-story brick on the same block as Marie's, the kind that had a quiet apartment over a quiet barbershop. The barber had retired and his daughter wanted to sell. You bought it. Then the one 3 doors down, which had a print shop on the ground floor and a vacant unit upstairs. Then the building with the dental office and the 2 studio apartments. You bought them slowly, the way you buy a thing you intend to keep. Year 2. 3 buildings. Year 3. 5. You'd hired Carol by then. An accountant with a short silver bob who called your portfolio aggressively boring once and meant it as criticism. You moved into one of your own units. You paid yourself rent, on paper, the same as any other tenant. 5 storefronts on Linden Avenue were yours. The people who lived above them. The people who ate in the diner across from them. The people who waited at the bus stop in front of them. They did not know. There was no reason for them to know. You'll hear people say boring money is for people who couldn't make exciting money. That isn't what boring money is. That was never what boring money was. Boring money is what survives. It doesn't fail on a Tuesday because someone you've never met posted something on the internet. It just sits there, making rent, making sense. You learned, slowly, to want the things that survive. You drive a 2014 Honda CRV, coffee stain on the passenger seat from 2019. When people at events ask what you drive, and they ask, you can watch them recalibrate in real time. That recalibration is useful. That recalibration is protective in ways a nicer car never would be. You wave to Donna at the dry cleaner across the street and she waves back. She's been waving at you for 9 years. She thinks you live in the apartment above the bookkeeper's office. She is right about that. There's a note on your fridge. Marie wrote it, the morning after the closing on the diner building you eventually bought from her, 4 years after the upstairs unit. My grandkids can go to college now. Signed, Marie. It's been there for 2 years and you don't read it closely. You're not sure you want to look at it too closely. Here's the thing. People talk about adventure like it's an island, a jet, a table with no prices on the menu. That isn't the thing. That was never the thing. The thing, the real, electric thing, is finding something broken that everyone has been walking past. You've driven past it 9 times. The sign is sun-faded. The T in temporarily closed is almost gone. You ran the property records on your phone last Friday while you were waiting for takeout. The owner is named Gerald. He's 71. He moved to Sun City after a hip surgery and never came back. You'll call Tuesday morning. Not too eager. Tuesday morning. Hal was 61. He owned the hardware store in the building. His knees were gone. He sold you the building for $870,000. You kept him on as the store's manager. He's still there. Donna was 58. Her husband had died the spring before. She sold you the dry cleaner building for $620,000 and moved to her sister's in Tucson. She still sends you a Christmas card. Frank was 67. He'd been a CPA in town since 1986, and he wanted to retire somewhere warmer. $1.2 million. You bought the building on a Thursday. Sandra was 54. She told you, over coffee at a Panera, that she'd had one tenant skip on her in 2019, and she was done with commercial real estate forever. $980,000. You wired the deposit the next morning. Mr. Patel was 71. The corner pharmacy had been in his family since 1971. He had wanted his son to take it over. His son had wanted to teach high school history. $640,000. He cried at the closing. You did not pretend not to notice. By year 9, you owned 14 of the 22 buildings on Linden Avenue. The hair salon, the dental office, the dry cleaner, the pizza place, the hardware store, 2 of the 3 nail places, the pharmacy, the print shop, the yoga studio that closed and reopened as a taqueria, the bookkeeper's office that had been your first tenant, the corner unit that had been empty for 6 years. You gave Derek $40,000 7 years ago. He was your college roommate. He had a plan for a contracting business. The plan was reasonable. Derek was not, but you'd learn that later. He bought a 2017 Cadillac. He told you it was for client meetings. The business failed in 9 months. The Cadillac was repossessed in 14. He hasn't called in 4 years. Ryan has been your best friend since you were 16. He drives rideshare on weekends because his salary doesn't cover his mortgage. He thinks you do well. He doesn't know how well. He Venmos you for dinner splits and you let him because if you ever once didn't, he would know. You could solve most of his year with a wire. You don't. You build him a spreadsheet at 11 at night on a Wednesday. Money doesn't fix preparation. It just accelerates whatever was already there. And that's not coldness. That's the lesson Derek paid for. On a Thursday in October, your accountant Carol sent you an email at 2:47 p.m. Subject line, Q3 summary. The preview line said your net asset value had crossed $108 million. No exclamation point. Carol is not an exclamation point person. You were at the hardware store you own. You were buying a furnace filter. There were 2. $4.79 for the basic one. $7.19 for the one with the higher M or V rating. You stood there for what felt like 90 seconds and you picked the basic one. The cashier scanned it. She didn't look up. The receipt was 3 lines. The total was $4.93 with tax. You walked home. It was getting dark. The streetlights on Linden are the new kind now, white-blue. You sat on the balcony. You drank 1 beer, a generic silver can from the corner store, $1.39. The avenue below you was empty. You owned almost all of it. You felt something that was not pride, exactly. Not relief. Something closer to recognition. Like a thing you had built had finally noticed you back. Tuesday, the corner booth, black coffee, The barista refills your coffee without asking. The pencil is still behind her ear. She has never used it. You open the book. Page 112. You're still on page 112. There's a notebook in your bag. You take it out. There are 12 names on a list inside it. 12 buildings on Linden Avenue you don't own yet. You add a 13th. A small HVAC company 2 streets off Linden, whose owner is 64 and has been telling his suppliers, quietly, that he's considering his options. The barista wipes down the counter. She does not know you own 3 buildings within 4 blocks of where she is standing. She does not know that you come to this coffee shop because it isn't one of yours.